Hey, welcome back to Embrace the Madness. This is Madeline, your host, the girl with the most silly jokes. If you're just now tuning in, my podcast is just about learning to accept life as it is, shit show and all, stay strong in the meantime, and find what makes you happy and follow that and be that and stuff like that. So last week we talked about balance and my boyfriend Davis was there with me. I was so when we did it because it was just so different doing it in a professional studio with other people in the room, but it was fine. And I really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit better. Some of those things he hadn't really shared with me, so it was kind of like a little sesh between us two, so that was cool. I think it was kind of heavy too, just finding balance and kind of coming to terms with the treacherous storm of life is a lot, and I think kind of talking about it makes it easier and just understanding that we're all dealing with how to find and create that balance in our life. It's pretty long, but it's pretty freaking good. So if you have time, listen. If you need to break it up into like segments, I definitely suggest that because it's totally worth it. So my birthday was last Monday, which was literally the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. It was just such a cool day. And I was going to do a podcast that day because it was on a Monday, but I was like, that's a little overzealous. You have to get ready for the show and you have to go decorate and blah, 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 blah. So here we are next Monday, but it's all cool. Maybe it gives you guys a chance to catch up. Yeah. So this week, I'm just going to talk about my birthday and what it means to kind of like celebrate life and how I am celebrating my life through my life. And what else am I going to talk about? I'm just kind of going to reflect because I've had kind of a big year, and I think just reflecting and actually like going through all the things that I've done can help give me perspective. And I mean, it's totally taught me like a bunch of things, and I just keep finding these recurring themes happening. So I'm just going to touch on those, and hopefully sharing my experience will like lend, a narrative. But also I just used to be one of those people who not like, I mean, I was kind of like doubtful, but I just never knew how powerful we are. And I never knew that really awesome, cool things could happen if you set your mind to it. And I know, yeah, you're like, set your mind, you can do anything, but actually living that and kind of going through it and navigating that journey was a new experience for me. And so I just want you guys to know that it's possible wherever you are in your life to change your script and change your narrative and truly create what you want out of life. So yeah, let's get in it. I'm excited. So yeah, I just turned 27, and for some reason I'm not really scared of getting older. I'm sure that will probably hit different in like 10 years, but for now, I'm enjoying it. It is kind of interesting to look back and think like, oh my God, I used to be a child a while ago. I mean, I know I still am a child, but it's just growing up's weird. It's weird, but it's a good weird, I think. It doesn't have to be as weird if we are present and, whoa, I just hit the microphone. If we're present and just consciously using our time so that we don't, have our 75th birthday and what have we done? Nothing. So yeah, I had this idea, I guess a few months ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I was like, okay, my birthday's on a Monday. what if I like threw a show? Because I don't know, I just love DJing now and it's so much fun. And so I'm like, why don't I just do exactly what I want to do? People have fun at my shows. Let's just all have a big party. And my work's closed on Monday, so hell yeah, let's do it. So I was like, let's see. Well, I wrote it down in my journal because I'll get into it in a bit, but I've just really, really started believing and trusting in the law of attraction. And so, long story short, when you are grateful and have faith that the things have already happened, then the universe is like, oh, okay, well, let's match this vibration and create it. So I just wrote that I wanted to play a really cool show at this venue on my birthday. And I wrote it really specifically like, I'm so grateful to have had a wonderful show on Monday, March 2nd. And so I was like, yeah, I can make this happen. I can make this happen. So I go and look at like the calendar on the venue page, and there's not a show booked for my birthday. So that was kind of like my first hint. And I was like, dude, like you can do this and you can make this happen. And I wanted to play some of the early music that I had listened to when I first got into EDM. And I was just like, nobody plays this really anymore unless you go to the actual artist show. So why don't I just like play all these cool songs and we can just like have fun and vibe about it? Well, come to the present day, it was like freaking magic. Like I got my friend to make this really badass flyer. I had talked with the event guy at the venue. We got it booked. We got it promoted. I mean, it was a Monday night, so it wasn't like big poppin', but still, it was just so cool to like have all my like friends and family and those that are close to me be there for me, with me, to support me and celebrate with me. And it was just so magical. I had friends drive from like three hours away. My other friend drove freaking across the country. No, well, across the state. But it's just so magical, like knowing that there are people who love and care about you and support your life and your journey. And I just like was literally like freaking out the whole day just because I was just so overwhelmed that I had spoken this thing into existence and it came true. And that's been a whole theme of this past year too. But just really being able to like see it all come together on my actual birthday. And it was also cowboy themed and it was sweet. Like I had cactuses. It was really cool. But yeah, so I did that last week. Thank you to everybody that came and supported me. Let's see. So I was thinking, like, what have I all learned this year? And I've done so much. And I don't know, it's just crazy to think about. So I'm going to talk about a little recap. So last year on my actual birthday, I was in California. I went to go see my sister and wanted to go to this Boombox Cartel show, this artist that I really like, on my actual birthday. And it was in LA and I was like, dude, I want to make it happen. So I bought the tickets, whatever. Well, I went to go see my sister who was living out there at the time. And I had she wasn't able to go with me, but I still wanted to make this thing happen. And so I think it was 5 days, but I had planned this like state road trip to just kind of like, I didn't get to go to San Francisco, but I basically went everywhere else and except San Diego. But yeah, I just rented a car, drove through the mountains, drove up to Lake Tahoe, went to go see one of my favorite bands 2 days in a row. In Fresno and then San Luis Obispo. I drove down the Pacific coast and it was just so magical. And that's how I started my birthday last year. So I don't know, just, it's just super cool to think about. I was just rereading my blog that I wrote when I got home. And I was just looking at all the pictures, but it was cool. I got to see tumbleweeds in real life, and that was like the craziest thing. You don't know how cute it is till you like go back and reflect. So when I got home from there, that happened. I was working this job that I'm very grateful for. I'm very grateful for what I learned, but it ended up being super, super, super toxic. And just at this stage of my life that I was going through, I could not hang anymore. And so, as much as I didn't want to, I quit my job. I mean, I wanted to, but it's really scary when you don't have something directly lined up. And my friend was opening her wine bar, and it was like the date kept getting pushed back. So I ended up taking 2 months off of work and not knowing. Luckily, I had enough money saved up. Luckily, I paid all my bills. I got very, 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 very broke for a minute, which was fine. I think it's a really humbling experience to go through when you don't have like that much disposable income. And I mean, I am grateful because I do make enough money and have a good job and can sustain myself and live happily, but I know that's not always the case. So it was just an interesting, humbling experience not being able to do things and have to actually budget my groceries and be really, really, really mindful about what I spent my money on. So yeah, I quit that job. I had a 2-month break, which I think was really good. I think it was really good to have serious, serious alone time because I mean, you can just get sucked into this life when you're just going and going and going and going, and you don't really have time to stop and think about your purpose and your goals and what you want to be and what you want to do. And I'm really grateful that I had such a lengthy amount of time to do that. So then the wine bar opened. Oh yeah, I forgot. I think in that little period of time, I wanted to go camping really bad. And it was like April or May, so it was just getting to the point when it was really getting warm, spring happening. And so I went to Arkansas and went camping, and I think I stayed 3 nights by myself. And that was insane. In the daytime, like you're fine, you can go hiking, it's light outside, but I get really scared of the dark. And also imagine being in the middle of the woods. Like it was like actually, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It wasn't primitive camping. Like it was in a facility, a little campsite, and I had some neighbors, but they weren't really close. But I kind of just wanted to see, hey girl, you think you can do anything? Let's go see if you can live in nature for 3 days. And I mean, it's car camping, so it wasn't like that primitive. But I mean, I cooked food for myself on the fire. I got a fire started by myself without one of those logs, and it was a really cool experience. I went hiking. I went on this 4-hour-long hike by myself and had a lot of time to reflect and think about kind of my role in creating this buzzing. I was having this weird thing with wasp, and they just freak me out because you have no idea what they're going to do. And I don't know, I just don't want to get stung. But I realized on like this metaphorical level that I had been constantly nagging and buzzing in my life. And like, I don't know, like what was I afraid of? But I got some time to hash that out. I was scared as shit at night, a couple of nights, because like raccoons would come and I had like a headlamp, but it was still scary. Like I remember one of these nights, I like heard these like things wrestling and I figured they were raccoons because I don't know. But they were just like making these weird noises, and I'm over here in my tent in the dark. My phone was about to die, and I mean, I don't have a gun or anything or any weapon, which I don't know. At that point, I'm just like, Lord, take me. But I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird being in that situation because we don't do that as humans. Like we're not scared of our like. Okay, well, there are a lot of people who do live in that fight or flight, but normally we're not in close contact with that idea of our mortality. And so it's really scary when you're like, holy shit, I don't know what's going to get me, but something might get me. And that's another humbling experience. So yeah, started working. My friend wanted to celebrate his birthday in Bali. So we went to Bali, and I didn't know if I was going to make that happen financially, especially not having worked for 2 months. But that was kind of one of those things when I started to shift my belief of, okay, it's silly if you turn down this opportunity to go to this other part of the world just because you don't think you can. And I was kind of slowly, I hadn't really fully grasped the idea, but I was thinking, why would you ever like hold yourself back like that? Like you can totally go. You can totally go. You can figure it out. You can make it happen. You can manifest this money. And I don't think that's a matter of like thinking, well, okay, I can just make this money appear out of nowhere. But really just like, okay, if I know I need this amount of money, how can I figure out how to get it? How can I get what I need? And I mean, of course, I had 2 credit cards to fall back on, which I'm grateful that I had them, but also credit cards. So yeah, we made it happen. I just finally finished paying off one of them, but it was totally worth the experience. And I totally would go broke to go to Bali again, totally any day. But that was a cool, rewarding experience that I got to share with my friends. And I have never freaking seen so many stars. We were on the beach one night, laying all together in our cuddle puddle and just reminiscing on our friendship and just sharing funny stories. And it was just like, so there was no light pollution down there. And I still just can't believe how many stars there were. But I had one of those moments where I realized, like, holy shit, I'm looking at a big mirror right now. Like, this beautiful scene in the sky. Like, that's me. And I am that, and we're the same thing. And it was just like a whole moment. But I'm so grateful I got to have that moment. I can't remember. I guess I would have started, yeah, because I started in November. I started my podcast. I kept that going. I wanted to learn how to DJ, so I started doing that. I had my first show, then I had another show, and then I had my birthday show. So just like all of that stuff happening in the last year is mind-blowing to me. But I just think there's a lot that I've learned this year in terms of you're the only one holding yourself back. You're the one who is limiting yourself from living this life that you dream of living. And what's stopping you? Okay, it's just yourself. And yeah, so I just am still in awe and gratitude and so many cool things. And so I know that this year is going to be way awesome too, just because I'm learning all these things and I feel like I'm slowly gaining a little bit of mastery over, choosing myself, taking care of myself, setting a goal, wanting to do something, and then breaking it down to figure out what it means to accomplish it and achieve it. And yeah. So I'm going to talk about some of the themes that I learned kind of after reflecting or, whatever. 'Cause yeah, they're just doing all of these things and having all of this time to myself really showed me the importance of taking care of yourself. And I think it's interesting when I was looking at that blog that I wrote when I got back from California, and it was about gratitude. And I think I was having this kind of weird moment before my birthday where I just felt really bummed out, and I felt like I didn't choose to be human, and I didn't choose to like have this experience. So I don't think it's fair that I have to deal with all this and be a part of this society that I don't agree with and blah, 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 blah. And like looking back, that was kind of entitled and just very ungrateful. And I think we all go through times like that because I don't know. It's just we feel like there's something more or we deserve something more. But I think before I had that kind of realization when I got home, I wasn't aware that I was creating that for myself. And I really appreciate looking all around California when I was driving and just seeing all these different beautiful things and seeing the Pacific Ocean and seeing the green hills on the side of the coast and seeing wine country and seeing the desert and seeing like real life cactuses and seeing beautiful snow. When I had gone to Lake Tahoe, they had this random blizzard, and I think there was like 8 feet of snow. So just seeing this whole entire complete opposite geography was so wild and mesmerizing. And Lake Tahoe, I can't even, like, I'm just thinking, I was like, had just driven into the city and it was lightly snowing and it was kind of dark and cloudy, but take me back. I'd love to go in the summer when it's like green and blue, but that was killer. And really just seeing all this beauty and remembering that I am a part of it. If we are the universe and if we are all, this whole one energy is everything in kind of separate forms, then I am just as beautiful and awesome as all this scenery around me. And so I think that shifted my mindset into one of gratitude. And I think that was a really kind of cool, timely thing that happened with my birthday, and just remembering to be grateful and grateful for my life. And because it is fragile, and if you're not grateful, you could die one day. And well, then there's no more to that. And so it was just a really cool time. And yeah, just constantly this year, just being reminded that I am a child of this universe and I am whole and wonderful, and really kind of just tearing down a lot of previously held beliefs of, not good self-worth, not deserving things, stuff like that. Another theme that was intense for me was this kind of difference between authenticity and being like chained to these old patterns of perfectionism. And I guess just through, I'm not really sure what triggered it, but just really exploring who I was and not being afraid to be vulnerable and be myself and be goofy and be silly. And sometimes people don't laugh at my jokes or think I'm fun. I don't know. But I think that's also them kind of holding back from their authentic selves, and just truly being able to appreciate who you are and who others are as they are, nothing more, nothing less. And that was a cool thing to learn because, and I've written in my blog about it, but holding yourself back because you're not what you think you should be, or you're not like these other people, I think that is such a huge energy block. But this year I kind of actually got to live it and live what it means to be myself and be silly and not have any regrets or, fears. And I think a lot of that was limited by my highly, highly, highly perfectionist tendencies, high perfectionist tendencies. But yeah, I've just lived my whole life wanting everything to be perfect, wanting to control everything, I don't know. I don't even know what I wanted, but I just wanted to be validated, I guess, and thinking that if I did everything perfectly and awesomely and on point all the time, then I would be validated. But it was actually the opposite. But allowing myself to be authentic and make mistakes and understand my vulnerability really kind of helped shift that weight. And so I still have moments where I kind of get a little neurotic in the moment and I just want things to be how I want them and I want them to be perfect. But I've also let a lot of stuff go. And even doing this podcast helped me kind of release my perfectionist tendencies because I say all the time. I say like all the time. I say all these things, but I don't want to project this image where I'm perfect because I don't think that that's real. And I think that it's cool to be messy and it's cool to be fallible and it's cool to be our human selves. And so it's just been a whole game changer too, releasing all those ideas of what I thought it meant to be, I don't know, good and lovable and stuff like that. And I think the more that I'm able to release these beliefs, then the more space I have energetically for myself and for the good things and the things that I want to manifest and create in my life. So I'm very, very, very grateful for all of those things. I remember writing about boundaries, I think like a year and a half ago or something like that. Well, it's one thing to talk about boundaries and identify them and these are what boundaries are, but then it's a whole other one to live it and actually be in the moment and present and say, okay, look, this is a moment where I can either set a boundary and change things or I can go back to my old ways. And it is not easy. It has been so hard. And I mean, still rewarding, but it's been so hard setting my boundaries and figuring out what that means for me. And I think I practiced a lot when I quit my job. And I didn't think that I deserved to be treated disrespectfully and stuff like that. And so I set that boundary and I was like, look, I'm not going to tolerate this. And I'm not going to tolerate this just so I can make money. And just because I feel obligated to work here. And I think that kind of just set things in motion. And so creating these boundaries with friends and family and relationships has really kind of shifted things in my favor. And I think that choosing yourself and choosing to uphold your boundaries is really important. And I think that it's something that we have to do, even though it's going to be hard. And what's really exciting is I have just gotten into a relationship and I constantly think about the past and how my previous experiences were where I had these really poor boundaries and I didn't make time for myself and I didn't know why I was so upset. But now I'm what I consider to be a healthy relationship where I can communicate my feelings and communicate my needs and also not feel emotionally obligated when my boundaries need to be set. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, so I'm just not going to set that boundary. But then you just get sucked into this trap and then you're hurting. And then it's like, why am I discounting my feelings for the sake of somebody else's? And so that's been a huge theme. And I promise it gets so much easier the more that you do it because really, I think you're scared of setting boundaries because you're scared of hurting others. But what happens is you set these boundaries, and yeah, people might get upset, but I think that it also, I think that, like, they either respect him or they're out of your life kind of situation. And so I think it's a lot better to kind of demand that respect from others. I mean, in a kind and compassionate way, but still, you deserve respect and you don't deserve to be treated. And so kind of prolonging that because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings is just going to prolong your journey. So boundaries, they're great. I'm really proud of myself. Something else I'm proud of is the level of discipline and consistency that I've been maintaining. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at discipline and I can do a whole, 30-day challenge, because I can't. Well, I don't want to say that I can't. I just want to say that it's challenging, but I know that I can do it. But starting this podcast has helped me establish consistency and setting a goal of, hey, I want to do this every Monday. And it's not perfect. Sometimes it comes out a few days later, but still just knowing that this podcast is important to me and knowing that it's something that I said that I was going to do. So I'm going to uphold that and keep doing it. And so I'm really proud. And I think it's helped me kind of see what consistency's like and see what it takes to create consistency. And it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort and a lot of conscious choices that you have to make. But I think it's really cool because just hearing from my friends and family and even sometimes strangers coming up to me and telling me that they listened to my podcast and it spoke to them, that's the coolest feeling in the world. And so I'm just grateful that I am slowly establishing this journey of consistency, but also being compassionate towards myself when I don't hit the mark all the time. And that's been a huge thing. Another thing that I got from a podcast that I recently listened to, it says consistency is showing up more often than not. And so I think that's kind of been a game changer, and just say, okay, if you're making a conscious effort and you're not doing it all the time, but you're still doing it most of the time, I think that's fucking progress. And I think that's beautiful. I think DJing's also helped me kind of realize what consistency and discipline mean too. Producing your own music is fucking hard, and I'm still learning how to do that. And I'm still kind of on the early beginning part of the curve, but I'm doing better. And really just putting in the effort and time that it takes to practice and do something that you really want to do. So that's kind of shown me that journey, because normally, and I've shared this in a previous podcast, but if things get hard, I don't want to keep doing it. And so really just staying consistent and saying, look, if you want this, then you need to keep going. And that's what I did. And it's been wonderful. Another thing, and I think I started it probably 2 years ago. So anyways, just really focusing on self-care. And this podcast has helped so much, just talking about these things and keeping them conscious in my life. But really taking care of myself has changed everything. Realizing that I had spent most of my life kind of neglecting my emotional needs and physical needs and stuff like that, even spiritual needs. But changing the focus onto me and putting myself first has really helped create this magical life. And when I would set my boundaries and when I would make decisions to benefit me and protect my emotions and protect myself as if I were this child that needs love and care, and I don't know, my whole life is so different and so beautiful, and it's getting better every day. And I could not have created this without choosing myself. And that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned this year. And believing that I deserve and I'm worth achieving my dreams really shifted the narrative. And I think allowing like this vibration and energy to unfold, then the universe is like, okay, we're going to match that and we're going to help create what you want and heal you through all these cool things. Something that's been really hard for me this year, but also it's been a big theme, is trusting the unknown and trusting and having faith that things that happen are meant to happen, and what's meant to happen will. You just have to like, trust it. And it's never going to be on your own timing, but I think it's on a good time. It's on a good timeline. It's happening for you. It's happening through you, and you might not understand it, but it's killer. So I guess the first kind of moment where I felt inclined to trust the unknown is when I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Bali, and not really knowing exactly how it was going to happen, but trusting that if it was meant to happen, it would happen. And so I made all these decisions financially and bought this ticket and put it on my credit card and had to borrow a little bit of money, but really just trusting that and kind of taking that really scary fucking jump and jumping. And that turned out to be awesome. For my podcast, I had been like thinking about it all the time, and I, always waiting for the perfect moment. Well, I just signed up for the podcast thing and I started making art and I started recording it, and here we are. It's March. I started in November, so like 4 months later. This is crazy. But just trusting that I didn't know how the podcast was going to happen, but it happened, and here we are. And with the music stuff too, I had no idea what I was about to get myself into, and I had a lot of imposter syndrome stuff to deal with, and really feeling like, oh, I don't know, this is scary. I don't know if it's even going to happen, but trusting that if this journey is what's supposed to happen, then just keep following your heart, and there's something of a higher consciousness that's taking care of business, And really just, I mean, it's weird to think about if you aren't particularly religious, or if you are religious, then you think about it as God. And I think in my perspective, I feel like that divine energy is kind of all the same energy, but for some reason, there is some order to this universe in the midst of all the chaos. And I think trusting that natural order really kind of helps things balance out. And so I began to, even though it's pitch black and scary and I have no idea what's happening, I try to remember that higher order and that higher nature. And it's definitely been really nice. Really, 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 really nice. And this is something that, seriously, my friend Jordan, I love you so much. She suggested to read You Are a Badass. It's this fucking badass book by Jen Sincero, and I cannot recommend it any highly more, whatever, however you say that. That book taught me about, she says, unwavering faith and gratitude. And that is how like the law of attraction works. And understanding that what you put out in the world, you get back. It's kind of like when you throw a boomerang and it comes back to you. I've never done it, but that's what happens in the TV, But really just saying, okay, this is the energy that I have, and this is what I'm going to match it with. Kind of like if you're just having a shit day, doesn't it seem like all the shit things just keep happening to you and happening to you and happening to you? Well, when I started believing that this was the case and started believing that the vibration and frequency that I'm at right now is going to come back to me through the universe, things started changing. and learning to have this unwavering faith and unwavering gratitude, and realizing that I can literally create my reality. If I level up and if I do things out of love and kindness and compassion, that's going to increase my frequency. And by kind of getting rid of these limiting beliefs and eliminating this negative kind of like lower frequency energy, that I can make space and attract what I want. And that's totally happened this year. I started trusting the unknown and said, hey, I'm going to do this podcast, or hey, I'm going to be a DJ and I'm going to play these shows. Like, I literally remember putting, I think, into writing that I was going to play a show before the end of the year. And I mean, it's not like I just like got granted a wish and it happened. I actually had to work for it. But setting this goal and knowing that I could achieve it really just allowed me to see like what's actually at stake. And I forgot what I was saying. Oh, and so, I mean, of course, it's like getting like really close to the end of the year and I'm like, oh, fuck, I haven't played a show yet. I am getting really scared. What if it doesn't happen? My fucking friend Jess. I mean, I did a lot of hard work too, but I couldn't have done it without her. And she kind of helped me take that leap into the unknown and put myself out there. And I got asked to play a show December 28th. So literally like 2 or 3 days before the end of the year. But still, that's a goal that I set and I fucking reached it. And I think by, like I said, like rising up to this higher energy allowed these good things to come to me. And so even when I like said I wanted to have a birthday party, getting really specific and creating this space for what I wanted to attract. I mean, hello, like you can literally speak it into existence and it will come if you work really hard. And that I just had so many limiting beliefs that I just didn't think it was possible. And I think this has definitely been the year of releasing all of that and releasing shame and releasing guilt and releasing this idea that I have to be perfect and truly just like letting all those old layers just shed off. And you can't see because I'm talking and you can't see, it's not a video, but I'm smiling so big and I'm just truly grateful for understanding all of these things and learning to love myself and choose myself as the fucking badass universe that I am, and knowing that things are going to work out. And it gets sometimes overwhelming because I'm just like, oh my God, I've got these really big goals and I know I can reach them, but it's so scary. It's just like, it's like climbing up on this ladder and it's like the higher you get, it's just like really intense. But I'm trying to remind myself to be excited, but I just know that this is going to be a really good year. And I'm so grateful to be alive to experience it. And I'm so grateful to have such a supportive family and friends around me to allow me to live my dreams and allow this beautiful reality to manifest. So thank you so much for listening to all of those birthday blobs. And I feel like my birthday was kind of like an important mile marker. Because, I mean, it's been a couple months and I've been talking about kind of these themes of self-care and what it means. And so now I'm like, well, what else am I going to talk about? Like, what else is relevant in living consciously and creating this reality you want? And I had brainstormed like a couple different avenues to talk about. And so I'm not really sure. I need to map it out, but I think I want to talk about relationships in the next segment. And I think I don't know everything about relationships, but I do think that I have learned a lot, and I've learned what a relationship isn't supposed to be. And I've learned kind of why these patterns manifest and what we can do to kind of change that and shift the narrative. And so I think that it might be a really beneficial segment to talk about, because in our lives, we have this idea of kind of rediscovering that connection and what that validation means for us. And so a lot of this gets created when we are in a relationship with someone and we are on the lookout for this perfect person who is supposed to, like, be our everything and support us and remind us of what it feels like to feel whole and to feel loved and accepted. And I think, at least in my experience, I was doing everything opposite. But I think it's okay. I just think it's just a really intense thing. And so if we're going to live this existence, I think it's important to be mindful that we don't get sucked into relationships that aren't good for us or things like that. So I will brainstorm in the meantime and figure out what we're going to talk about. And I will touch base again next Monday. So thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being who you are and being your true self. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. This is Madeline with Embrace the Madness. Bye. Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode of Embrace the Madness. Don't forget to subscribe so you can learn to live your best life.